What's good, everybody? Welcome back to the Cloud Slayer channel. Hope you guys are doing well. I know it's been a minute. It's been a couple of weeks, but it is what it is. Had to take some time off. Kept getting sick. Had to get rid of that stuff. Freaking cleaning the house and stuff like that. Laundry, fell back on that because of the sickness. Typical stuff. Typical stuff that happens, and you got to work and all that stuff too, and traveling for holidays and things like that. But tis what it is. This past weekend was freaking awesome. Didn't get any training in tonight, but well, it's Sunday going into Monday. Pretty much going to be Monday here pretty soon. I'm just getting in some steps before I go to bed. Been working out and stuff like that. But the last 2 days, been feeling good. Freaking bring my son out in the garage. Here we're gonna play a little clip right now of that, and hey, I'm proud of the kid.
1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2.
1, 2, kick.
1, 2, kick.
Hey, pay attention.
Kick.
Come on with the other kick.
1, 2, kick. Oh.
Hey, look at it. You kick like this.
Yeah, like 1, 2, kick.
Hey, you step over. See that?
1, 2, kick.
There you go. That was a good kick.
It's like
Frickin', we had so much fun practicing them, practicing like 1-2 kicks and things like that. Absolutely, proud of him. He's picking up pretty good, and he wanted to be out here and doing that with me. And it's better than playing freaking video games and stuff like that. So even though we do that, you know what I mean, but. We get to do that as well. We get to come out, and we have like shin guards and gloves, and it gets him off the couch, and that's our exercise for the weekend, right? And he was so bummed out tonight or last night about not being able to do it. I felt bad, but it was already getting late. We had to shower, get ready for school in the morning. It's been 2 weeks since he's had school, so and a lot of freaking sickness. Whatever. He's getting over that stuff still too. He had a little stuff in his chest, but it's winter time. It's gonna happen. We've been eating soup and things like that, and he's been doing way better. And he wants to do things, and goal dang it, we're going to go out and we're going to spar. We're going to practice these things, and he looks forward to it. I look forward to it. So, I'd like to see where that goes for him and myself with him. So it's freaking awesome. Like he's like, I just want to let's go out there and let's fight, Dad. And I'm like, let's do it then, man. Let's do it. Got some gloves on, and bam, bam. Practicing, teaching him how to defend and things like that. It's like, oh man, hopefully he likes doing this stuff and continues to do it. But you also hope that he doesn't do any bad things with it too when he gets older, which I'm going to do my best as a parent to raise him right and raise him not to do that. But this is what it is. It's going to be up to him on which path he decides to go down. I always try to get him to do jujitsu stuff. We always watch videos together. Been watching a lot of sparring videos together, and some good UFC fights and stuff like that. So getting him in young and admiring that, and that makes him want to come out here and do stuff too and train. Freaking awesome, Like I said, I'm proud of the kid, but even like before, I wouldn't try to bring him too much out here. Like I try to do him 1-2. Well, I didn't make him. I gave him the choice, and I tell him all the time, you don't have to do anything that I'm doing. You don't have to do anything anybody else is doing, but you have to do something that you want to do, and you got to find that, right? And it's not going to be easy. It's never easy, and freaking sometimes you might dance around something before you actually know that you like that thing. So you might not like it the first couple times, but hey, as he gets older, he'll start to understand that a lot more and things like that. And hopefully he can, we can keep some interests together and do those things together. Heck yeah, especially like I've always been a fan of martial arts in general, especially with like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And, I've always been a big boxing fan too. Always loved the art of boxing. I've always watched boxing growing up too. Mike Tyson when I was a kid was my favorite boxer. I'm not sure that's a lot of people's favorite boxers. Roy Jones Jr. I watched Oscar De La Hoya, and versus frickin' what the frick's his name? Floyd Money Mayweather, and I was in ninth grade when that fight happened, and I was like, oh man, I had Floyd, and my dad ordered pay-per-view for that and stuff like that. So, I always watched the classic boxing of Ali versus George Foreman and stuff like that, because of that movie Ali with Will Smith in it when I was a kid. That was a big movie, and it was a really, really good movie. So I like that, watching the Thriller in Manila and all that kind of stuff. So I watched old films of like Jack Johnson and some of those atrocities that he had to face, and it was awesome, seeing like the new Dave Chappelle bring that up. And I was like, dude, I already knew this. This is, he's like, but it was kind of different when they said about he got pulled over by like the cops. He gave him $100 because he said 50 is for now and the other 50 is for when I'm coming back through the town, because he's gonna take the same way. And those white cops just looked at him funny. So it's like I wonder how fast he was going because them guys probably weren't going that fast. If they even do they have speed limits at the time? Obviously we don't know nothing about it because we didn't live then. We would have to look at historical facts, which is obviously they somehow knew that he was traveling at a high, miles per hour per se. So I know there was like a bigger stigma back then, especially like during when they were gradually going up in miles per hour, like your face is going to get blown off type thing from going too fast or something, They had like some of those old hand crank stuff, but they made it sound like he had like a sports car back then or something, compared to a lot of other people. So freaking awesome. Like when he fought Jim Jeffries, and they cut the film. It shows all the people going in on him, and he's like, they're like, kill the N-word, before don't let him knock him out, and they like storm the freaking arena. And it's some real crazy shit. You hear Mike Tyson talk about him too before. He makes mention of Jack Johnson, having to fight those things, Joe Louis and African American boxers like that. And he talks about the history in that. He's like, he would have never been able to perform like that under those type of pressures. Like these guys were fighting essentially arenas, right? Because the whole arena wanted him to lose, wanted them to lose, wanted, whatever. And pretty awesome stories for it. So, and, gave hope to other fighters of, his colorful background, ancestry, and, and stuff like that. And it always made, like, when my family was always talking, they'd be proud of, colored athletes or people that made it or stuff like that. Even if we aren't African American, you got a lot of mixed family members that are African American, so we don't really judge on that stuff. But it's still cool to see that people can freaking do good and become very, very successful as long as they dedicate themselves to certain things, right? It's awesome. So, that just like to me re-solidifies on some things that I always forget. It's like you gotta sometimes you're gonna go through crappy times, but you gotta keep your head down and keep freaking working and doing what you can to continue forward, right? And you're gonna face a lot of adversity, but is it as bad as that going through something like that as these great people of history have had to go through, right? What they have to suffer and some like what is that movie? More Than a Game. It's like these are more than sports to a lot of people. It's survival, and you got to be really hungry. You got to be almost desperate, to want to get out of some of those situations. And want to change things, right? They had this documentary about Bill Russell, African American guy, and he brings championships to the Boston Celtics. And frickin', they break into his house. Like, he just won a world championship for you guys. And you guys broke into his house and, like, put up the N word up in his house and things like that. And it goes through why he didn't really care for the fans as much, right? Given his era. And people discredited him a lot. And I was like, it makes you think, like, he was never in the GOAT debate, even though the man has 11 championships, right? And I wonder if that played like a role in it, because people weren't as big of fans for him as they were for like a Wilt Chamberlain or something. But they also said Wilt Chamberlain was kind of a dick too, like spitting on people and stuff like that, and things like that. And it was coming from Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, which is funny because you see that like a season documentary of the Lakers or whatever, Showtime Lakers. They make him out to be like as big of a douchebag as he was trying to make Wilt Chamberlain sound. Like, oh, I was such a good guy, but Wilt Chamberlain was a dick, It comes out that he's like one of the biggest dicks ever. Oh yeah, it was like, that would suck, I guess, but we're not. All of us aren't perfect. I know I could be a dick too. Anybody could be a dick, right? And not that it's funny. It just suck. Just like you're trying to portray this thing, and like, oh, that guy was bad. You throw him under the bus, and you get thrown under the bus too for the same stuff that you were saying or something. Oh man, it was just funny because I knew like everybody loved Wilt when I was younger too. Like all the old basketball heads that they played basketball and they watched back in those times, and they all loved Wilt Chamberlain. It sounded like. And then it was always talked about like him sleeping with like 10,000 women, which is, it was highly fabricated based off of what people said Wilt Chamberlain himself said. But other people, that's all they heard in certain magazines. And they said that he kind of became sad with that later on with how they misconceived it and things like that. So I don't know how true that was, because all I've seen was somebody else say that, not directly from, not direct recordings from him saying it. So, it is what it is. I don't care. Even like Gucci Mane says it in the song, so I remember him saying that too. But, oh, that dude passed away, legend, 100-point game, freaking basketball. Oof, love to see it. Love to see people succeed and stuff. So, but I became a little bit more privy to like a Harlem Globetrotter stuff. I've been to one Harlem Globetrotter event when I was a kid. I didn't go this past weekend one, but regardless, I don't know why I'm getting off track about that. But freaking, I don't know. I was probably like 12, 13 years old when I went to that one down in the city. So that was a pretty fun experience. But regardless, I don't know. A lot of great talent, because Wilt Chamberlain played for those guys for like a year or whatever. Which, if you were like a casual for basketball, I guess you would have known that at some point. If you grew up in like the 90s or whatever, it didn't take much to research that stuff or hear stories from older people that also love the sport of basketball. So, but it is what it is. Yeah, it's just more stuff to go off of. Stay proud of yourself. Stay working hard. Stay on the grind. You're gonna face hard times and times you're gonna want to quit. And you're gonna want to give up, but you continue to put in that hard work to go forward on it, and that's all at the end of the day. That's all that matters, and that's all that's going to matter for you, right? I always make some of these comparisons, and I always say it all the time too. People don't like hearing some of those things, but you know, um, these become prime examples for things to do in your life, and some people that get so lost, like even people that did sports when they were growing up or whatever, and they kind of they, they were really good at basketball in their town, or wherever, and they get known for that. But then after they don't go anywhere, they don't continue to develop. They don't follow anything. They're around, right? They're living, they're surviving, and they don't know what to do, and they get lost. I speak 100% for somebody that was like that, and I'm not. It ain't like I'm saying I found my way, but I do my best to do things I love to do, and with the people I love, and stuff like that, and continue to grow and do things I like to do. But I'm not perfect, and my life ain't all sunshines and rainbows, but it is what it is. And with all the people that I've come to know in my life and stuff like that, I'm very fortunate. I'm very lucky, and you know, I want to continue doing the things that I want to do and care to do and love to do. And um, I guess the whole point was that my son getting into that thing, and I always say here that I'm not gonna be one of those parents that force them into any of that. I'm not gonna be the dad that's, hey, you gotta whatever. But sometimes you gotta be tough on them, especially if that's something they really want to do, and they got to be serious. There was a serious moment when we were doing some of the stuff, and I had to freaking get his attention. It's hard to get kids' attention sometimes, but you learn. As you communicate with your children more and things like that, how to talk to them and how to relate and how to make things fun. But you also know how to be serious, right? You gotta guide them. You gotta lead them somewhere. You gotta buckle down. It's not all fun, right? Being a parent, it's more of trying to teach them and get them to where they want to go or where they're trying to go. Help them as much as you can, and without babying them too much, right? Because they gotta learn as they get older. What are you gonna do? You got to do something. I can't do it for you. Not, there's gonna be things I'm going to be able to help you with. Yeah, but when you get older, I'm not gonna find a wife for you. I'm not gonna freaking find a job for you. I'm not gonna work for you. Well, I'm gonna do things for you, but I'm not gonna work for you to, just stay at home type stuff. If there's gonna be things that you want to do, you got to chase it. And I'm gonna support you as best as I can with what I have or things like that. If I'm still alive, whatever. Life's short. Shit happens. Who knows? But if I'm there, I'm alive, then I'm gonna support you as best I can, regardless of what you're choosing to do, right? And I'm gonna want to wish the best for you. You are my son. You are my whatever. It's my son. I only got a son, but if I had more children, it'd be the same story, right? It'd be the same thing. So it just little things like that, right? And it could be just pride, premature pride of my son. Maybe this is. I told him like, hey, this thing you gotta have respect for it. You can't just go around hitting people or trying to kick them or fight them for no reason. Stuff like that. Our fists aren't meant to like hurt people, right? They're not meant for hurting people, but if you have to, you're going to have to, especially if people are going to put their hands on you, especially if, any of that happens, like you're going to have to do something about it. Whether I'm right or wrong or whatever, that it is what it is. I'm not going to teach them to stand there and get beat up on. You know what I mean? Somebody kicks you fucking kick that fucker back, kick them in the shins or something. But, if it's on accident, it's on accident. You don't try to fight people for stuff on accident. Like, sometimes you can tell when somebody's being malicious. Sometimes you can tell when somebody wants to hurt you, right? And that's, you know, that's the time when you're like, yeah, well, I'm not taking that shit, you know? You got to buckle down, and you got to be a man. You're going to have to be a man one day, you know? And you might be scared and stuff like that. And like us right here, we're having fun, right? This is out of love because I want to see you succeed. I'm not punching you, obviously, for real. I'm barely touching you, and we're teaching you combinations because, you know, frickin' this is what you got to practice, man. But first sign of you being a bully, you know, I'm not going to support that. I can't support that. And, you know, we're not going to be okay with that. Not in this household, but if you're going to be a defender, you're going to be, you know, a competitor one day if that's what you want to do, you know, that's what you're going to do. But you're not going to be a bully. That's not for no reason, you know. You gotta be mindful of those things, right? And you know, he seems to understand, but he's still young yet, right? And you don't. I don't know if he actually grasps the understanding of that. I know when I'm a kid, you know, just in one ear out the other, and it's not going to click for him until he gets older and he realizes that stuff. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to sit there and not tell him, right? I have to be the one that tells him that. I'm his father, and you know, I've had my father, I've had uncles, I've had many great people, my cousins, my brother, you know, I got half my brother that's my cousins, my brothers that are cousins, my sisters that are cousins, and they all gave me advice, you know, you take that shit seriously. If nobody gives you that advice, one day it doesn't make sense. And one day, you know, someday you're just doing the same shit, you know, and you know, that's when you come to appreciate a lot of those people as time continues to pass, as life moves on, and as those that we love and care for travel on to that next life, to that next world or whatever, or just pass on, you know, whatever you believe in, you know, and those memories will always be with us, and those teachings that they taught us, those unselfish things that we took for granted at one point in our lives, right? And you know, you just sometimes I freaking sit there and cry like a little baby because I remember those things. I'm like, and all I can say is thank you, right? Thank you, in my mind and my soul and my heart for those people. And you know, sometimes that's what carries us forward, man. One of my biggest influences in my life, from a male perspective, my grandfather, and you know, and my dad, my cousin / brother Joe. You know, I took a lot of things to heart from those individuals. My uncle, Eddie J, and my uncle Raymond, stuff like that. You know, Uncle Mark. I always say Uncle Mark too. You know, those were like the main ones that I remember in my life that ever tried to help with those things, right? Or gave me certain type of guidances, right? And I totally appreciate it. They weren't, you know, they weren't fake just for being in front of other people to me, right? So I don't, like, me personally, I don't, like, I pick up from that, like, I'm not going to be fake to the people that I care for anybody else, right? And I want to be as real as I can for them and stuff like that. So, but that also makes me extremely awkward and weird, I guess, however the hell that works and things like that. And as I get older, I find myself getting more and more weird. At least I feel like it, right? And stuff like that. So, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I'm going crazy. You know what I mean? I'm trapped in my head thinking about random stuff, and I get so consumed with a lot of things that I do, which is what it is. Sometimes it's like I'm missing the world, even though sometimes it's right there in front of me. Yeah, but anyways, yeah, I hope everybody has a great one. I hope everybody had a great new year. I hope you find things that you love to do with, you know, the people you love, and stuff like that, and may it be magical and merry, and hopefully it can keep you away from freaking drugs or something, like I know probably most people that see these probably, you know, maybe they don't do drugs, maybe they just have family members that do drugs, and you know, it sucks. It freaking sucks, man. You know, everybody has somebody in their life that have been affected by these things, or have been there themselves, myself included, so I can't stress that enough whenever I talk about these things, when especially about drugs, alcohol, things that have heavily affected me in my life, and my well-being or my mental capacity, you know. But at the end of the day, it comes down to some responsibility that you got to reflect on, that you have also to battle this thing, right? That sickness, that thing, that whatever it is that makes you addicted to doing alcohol, or those drugs that you like to do that take you away from the thing, the dream that you want to chase, or they create some false reality that you're escaping to. Everybody, they have their reasons. Maybe you're hurt. Who knows? We all try to deal with things in different ways, and a lot of times we do it in the same ways. And we turn to drugs, we turn to these things we think aid us, and sometimes it does the opposite, and it hurts us, and it makes our lives worse, and our decisions worse. And I've seen it break many families, and you're going to hear many people say that, and you're always going to hear people say that, I think. So, but you can get out of it. You can get out of it. You can stop doing those things. It's not going to be easy, but the road's going to be tough. It's going to be hard, and it's going to be a grind. And you're going to lose faith so many times. You might even pick up some new faiths, but I wouldn't judge anybody. If it helps you do good, and you want to stop doing these things, and it helps you do those things, I don't care. Like, I care that you're doing good, right? And you don't care, even if it's something that you like freaking talk crap about, like to a friend or something while you're drinking at the time, and you remember that, like, hey man, you just beat me up if you ever see me. You're praying to Jesus or something, you know what I mean? Or praying to Buddha or whatever, Muhammad or whatever faith you have. It's, it is what it is. It's all right to admit that you're wrong. You were wrong about it before, and you found something that helps you deal with these things, these demons. The fight's not easy. So if it helps you, who cares? Who cares? That person probably didn't even remember that you were talking like that or saying those things. That person could be dead too. That person was fucked up at a party too with you. But sometimes it takes you remembering that you said those things in order for you to find the help that you need. So I guess it's a circle of life. But anyways, I hope everybody has a great one. It's good to see everybody again. It's been a couple weeks and stuff like that, but I hope everybody gets well. The freaking sickness stinks, man. It stinks, and it was just raining a little bit earlier in the freaking wintertime. At least it wasn't like a couple of years ago where we almost had no rain or snow until now. So, and we actually didn't have a drought after that. We actually had some really, it was really good actually. So that was good. Worries washed away. So, but like I said, have a good one. I do have an idea. I'm thinking about doing we do our workouts, and we do our sparring things, my son and I, and he's been asking to do some YouTube stuff, and so I was thinking about doing those. So you'll be able to see possibly what we do. A lot of it's goofing around, because that's what we do. We goof around and we just have fun, man. That's all it's about. Maybe it'll give you an idea to help, or for yourself, if that's something you want to do with your family, or if that's something that you like to do, whatever, or you ever want to come out. Like I say, anybody that knows me wants to come out, 100%. You're welcome. You just hit me up, man. Just so I'm not at home, I guess. Might have to go help my family and do some stuff. It's what it is. And I'm getting over freaking my injury. It's still there, but I kind of was able to lay on my back. My son Benji would help me a little bit on my back, and still a little worried. I'm not there yet, but I have to. I'll get there eventually. So, but it's definitely a lot more improvements since then. I know I was crying about it, the last ramble about it, but is what it is. I never went in, never got it checked out. So I don't know. My leg healed up though too. So I just figured that in that month, I felt that it was healing up, so I didn't go in, and I didn't want to waste time and money and stuff like that. Wasn't coughing up blood or anything like that, so I didn't break a rib and like freaking puncture a lung or whatever my dad was talking about. You know what I mean? So I was like, dude, I'm pretty sure I'd have felt that within the first freaking day. It might have been worse than it was. I would have probably been peeing blood or coughing up blood or something. You know what I mean? Like collapsed lung or something would be more. You would be more noticeable or something. Like something far more worse would be wrong than just being in really bad pain. That like I said too, also that after that about that second week when I pushed that rib back into place, and it started getting better. So it's I didn't think it was going to be too bad, but then it started getting worse in that second week. But that was about it. Now I'm getting way better. I can move in ways I couldn't. I've been practicing freaking my judo footwork and using bands to simulate that. It's going to be a matter of time before I'm going to be practicing that on somebody. So I'm getting some throw mats. Anybody wants to practice some judo throws with me coming up? I'd be on that. Might not have a throw mat for a while, but I'm down. I'm down to learn some judo. So we could just practice it together. Whatever. I don't care. I've been already practicing some footworks. Mostly it's some wrestling stuff, double leg takedown, single leg takedown, some back takedowns, which I got pretty good at. But I found that when I competed, it wasn't as easy as that. So I got a lot of arm fighting to practice, do work on arm drags and stuff like that. And, being more sure of myself, being more less hesitant, more confident, and things like that, right? Those are some of the big takeaways from my matches that, I took. And that's from the feeling that I got. I got to remember that it's all about having that faith in yourself and your training and the things that you learn along the way. So, those little goals have been adding up. I may not roll that much in a week, but goal day, and I make it count when I go. And frickin' I most of the time I have frickin' something in mind that I want to work towards, and frickin' things that I know I can focus on, which are the best parts of me that I will use, in certain situations. But there's a lot of things I got to work on, and that's mainly what I like to focus on, getting better at those weaknesses. And that's how you truly get better, right? You still got to work at those things you're good at, yeah. But if they're 200 times better than everything else, and you can't go in that direction, you meet somebody that almost specializes because their rival might have helped them build such a really great defense when they were coming up. To avoid that, or maybe their gym's just really good at rear naked chokes or Americanas or Kimuras, and then you got to go the route of leg locks, and I found myself a few times in our rolls for some leg locks, and I've been wanting to learn those and pull those off more often, stuff like that. Because I do find myself in that situation, just not for the lock that I had for the tournament, which was the straight ankle lock. But I do get to that position, but it's just, I realized one of these last rolls how, you could use it as a reap and a weight belt one, and you can lie and move your leg over or whatever, but you can, it's kind of easy to escape. So I was like playing with different ways of where my legs are going to go from that standpoint. I could transition into like an X guard or, stuff like that, double leg takedown, stuff like that. I forget what they call that freaking thing. Not an Uchimata, but I can't remember now. I remembered it, and I remember the steps in my head from the one class that I had, and it like stuck with me once when I rolled. I was like, how do I remember this? This is the first class, and it was like, I was amazed myself. I was like, what the heck? I didn't, I got my butt kicked, but I had fun. I was like, how did I remember some of these steps? I shouldn't remember the steps, but I did, and it was cool. But is what it is, I guess. But anyways, you got to practice those situations in order to get better at them, and those are a part of the little goals that you try to go for to achieve a bigger goal and things like that. So it's a mountain. It's a mountaintop that you got to climb, and you got to figure out the best way for you to climb it. It's nobody else's way. It's your way. It's your mountain. It's your trek. So that's what's so great about martial arts is, you can take away from so many other people, but the way that they're doing it is totally unique to them, and you're just doing a different variation of it. So not everybody's alike, and that's what I see a lot when because everybody's different when you roll with them. Everybody has different tendencies. Some people stick around the same thing, and is what it is. Some people, they evolve, and you get to witness that sometimes. And I haven't rolled that many times, but I've seen it. I've seen it at a few of those guys, and freaking, it's awesome, And I'm like, I wonder if there's any improvements on me. And sometimes I can tell the improvements, right? Because I've been working in those positions, but it kind of stinks because now it's back-to-back months where I'm injured, and that's all I want to do is be out there rolling and learning more stuff and things like that, and and I don't know. It sucks. It sucks to not be able to, because that's what I want to do. I can't even put a lot of pressure still on the front of my rib cage, but I could put a lot more than I had been. So that's things like that. Slow and steady. I can pick up a little bit more weights. I tried to do some kettlebell swings, which kind of hurt after a little bit, but it's progress. It's progress. That's what I know. I'm getting back to there, and I know I'm going to be there soon. And I know I'm ready, right? When I'm ready, I'm not going to force myself to be ready or do these things and get hurt. I've learned from the past as a kid, and I'm a grown old man that doesn't heal up as fast as I used to, or be able to work through injuries like I used to. And sometimes I can't because I have to prioritize work, things like that, right? I can't sacrifice my well-being because, I'm not a competitor. I'm not somebody that's going to do that. But I am somebody that wants to get better and wants to improve and, do things that I've always wanted to try to do, at least give it a try, So, but I know where my limits lie. I know where my priorities are in that sense, anyways, right? Maybe if I win the lottery, maybe that's all I'll be thinking about, or whatever, stuff like that, or all I'll be doing. But until then, what's the odds of that? What's the odds of winning the lottery? Billions, winning billions? Yeah, I don't think so. Not gonna happen. Not around here, anyways. So it's one of the classic cases of pooping one hand and wishing the other, and see which one fills up faster. And I'm pretty sure my wishes don't really come true. So, but your dreams can become a reality. You know, just work towards them. Tell yourself every day, I guess, and, you know, work towards that. And if it doesn't happen, guess what? Have another dream. Just kidding. It's never that easy, right? But anyways, I keep saying bye. So this is really bye. Peace out, guys. If you like this stuff, like and subscribe, please. I appreciate it. See you in the future. And if you really want to see those videos of Benji and I training or whatever, then, you know, I'll freaking do it. Comment. If not, you know, say nothing, because I don't want to see two big head people pretend to fight each other out there neither. I feel you. No, I'm just kidding.